Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing New.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Eddy Reynoso has declared that Canelo Alvarez's next fight is going to be against Billy Joe Saunders. And, Eddy Reynoso is Canelo Alvarez's trainer. And, these guys work very closely together, matching and making fights. Eddie Hearn has denied the fight is a done deal, but said Reynoso told him the same thing last night. So when we see it, we understand that more than likely this is going to be the opponent for Canelo Alvarez. And so since this is going to be the opponent for Canelo Alvarez, we've already seen these guys increase their offer to Billy Joe Saunders. We see Canelo and Eddy Reynoso are choosing Billy Joe Saunders. And so since they're choosing him, that is the fight that's going to happen. That's the fight that has to happen because Canelo Alvarez gets final say. So since these guys are picking Billy Joe Saunders, since that's the fight that's next, let's just break it down with the first look. And when we break it down with the first look, you see Billy Joe Saunders is going to have a height and reach advantage over Canelo Alvarez. He's an immaculate boxer. He has a lot of different skills. He's a tricky southpaw fighter. And so Billy Joe Saunders has shown in the past that he's a problem for a lot of different styles. He's beat Chris Eubank Jr. He's won world titles at 160 and 168. Billy Joe Saunders is a very good fighter. And so, you can never take anything away from Billy Joe Saunders or his skill set. A lot of people said that Billy Joe Saunders is a fight that Canelo Alvarez would duck, a fight that Canelo Alvarez would never take, a fight that Canelo Alvarez would never even consider. I've even heard people stating and making excuses saying that Canelo Alvarez will pick Callum Smith because he's ducking Billy Joe. And my only thing is, even if Canelo did pick Callum Smith, that doesn't mean he's ducking Billy Joe. You got to understand and be honest and objective about it. If you make a guy an offer, that means you have intent on making the fight. If these guys don't want to make the offer, if the deals can't get done, you can't say that you're ducking when you're trying to make the fights. That makes no sense. Only an idiot or a fanboy would say some rhetoric like that. And we got to call things down the line, down the middle, and be honest and objective about it. And then on the other hand, you see Canelo Alvarez. A lot of people think Billy Joe Saunders give Canelo a lot of problems, because when they seen Canelo against guys like Floyd Mayweather or Eddy Lara, they see that, those guys with those styles gave him trouble. Now, we also got to realize that Canelo has grown and evolved since then. So I find it odd that a lot of people are talking about Canelo in the same context or format that he was when he fought Floyd Mayweather. He was a kid facing the best fighter in the world. You got to understand that Canelo Alvarez had fought no fight up to that point to prepare him for the level of a Floyd Mayweather. None. He had fought no fight to prepare him for that level. And so you got to understand, you can commend the guy for taking the fight, but you have to understand that Canelo Alvarez has grown leaps and bounds since the Floyd Mayweather fight. And, he literally fought Eddy Lara, a fight or two after that. And, even Floyd didn't fight a prime Lara. So you got to understand that those fights are against two top-level fighters. And this was a Lara in his prime, and this was a Floyd Mayweather who was still an elite fighter and who was on the top of boxing at that point. So, when he took those fights, you can't expect a guy to look fantastic in those type of fights. When you face top and elite competition, anyone hardly ever looks great. Anyone hardly ever looks great. You look at Billy Joe Saunders, but he's never fought an opponent of that level. Now we're going to see what he looks like against that level. And, the funny thing I think about all of this, though, is I think Canelo Alvarez, since he's grown, I think he's shown a lot of head movement, a lot of defensive prowess. He's gotten faster. He's gotten, a little bit slicker in some ways. His counterpunching is elite. So this makes for a great and exciting fight. And he's been wearing down his opponents with body shots. So I think Canelo Alvarez and Billy Joe Saunders is primed to be a great stylistic matchup. And I think it's bound to prove a lot of narratives or debunk or enforce them. Either Billy Joe Saunders make Canelo Alvarez looks bad with his tricky style, or Canelo Alvarez beats Billy Joe Saunders and proves that style is something that he's already able to overcome, and it's something that's not, that's a thing of the past. And so when you look at it like that, this fight will tell us a lot about both fighters and where they belong on the world stage. So I think it's an excellent matchup. But what I don't like is when fanboys already make excuses before the fight is already, started, and they're already saying, when the fight happens, Canelo Alvarez is going to rob Billy Joe Saunders on the card when you don't even know what's going to happen in the fight. If Billy Joe Saunders goes out there and beats Canelo Alvarez dominantly from pillar to post, from opening round to 12th round, I think there would be nobody in their right mind that wouldn't call it a robbery. But here's the thing about it. No one is even predicting that type of outcome. People are simply saying that he's going to get robbed. So what it sounds like is guys are anticipating a close competitive fight. against 2 top-level, world-level opponents, against 2 world champions. They're predicting a top close fight, and yet since they're saying it's a close fight, they're automatically saying it's going to be a robbery. So is every close fight a robbery? That makes no sense. That's showing an inherent bias or hate towards Canelo, when you got to call things honestly and objectively. If Billy Joe Saunders is a masterclass fighter and he's going to dominate Canelo with the style that Canelo can adjust to, then he will put that on display. And so to come out and say that it's automatically going to be a robbery is an excuse. And and if Canelo Alvarez goes out there and beats this guy clear and convincingly, and these are going to be the same guys that's going to call it a robbery. You can't call fights a robbery. What if Canelo stops Billy Joe Saunders? Are they going to say the same thing about Kovalev? Like, you remember when the Kovalev fight happened, they said Canelo lost all these rounds, but he knocked out Kovalev at the end. That's not exactly what happened in that fight. When you saw the fight, Canelo Alvarez was parrying shots off the glove. Kovalev was doing nothing. Half of his jabs were blocked, and other than that, he was throwing nothing else. And Canelo Alvarez was winning those rounds and ultimately stopped him. Kovalev did have some success. Kovalev did win a round or 2 here and there, but it was nothing impressive that Kovalev was doing to dominate the fight. That's fanboy rhetoric. But we're starting to understand that there's this this thought about Canelo Alvarez that in any fight he's going to lose rounds. So either he's an elite fighter or he's not. Even when he beat Danny Jacobs, you had guys like Demetrius Andre coming out to saying, I thought Danny Jacobs won. This is a narrative. So anytime Canelo Alvarez is in a good fight, someone is going to say he lost. Someone is going to say he was robbing the opponent. Someone's going to make an excuse. And at the end of the day, when you're a great and elite pound-for-pound fighter, there's a reason why you're avoided. But once again, Unbiased as always, it's the IBFP.